to help you navigate the markets.
New York State is the first state in the nation to roll out a cryptocurrency task force to study how to regulate, define, and use cryptocurrency. Last week, New York State Governor Andrew Cuomo signed into law the Digital Currency Study Bill. With us now to discuss is New York Assemblyman Clyde Vanel. Thanks for coming back, Clyde. Give us your pitch. Why is this important?
Well, cryptocurrency is basically a new thing, right? It was born almost 10 years ago when the Bitcoin white paper was put out, and this new fintech thing has changed a lot of things in finances and in the markets or what have you. New York State is the financial capital of the world, and we must have the proper regulations and the proper balance to be able to figure out how to regulate in this space.
How do you, given all of the banks that really call New York home, how do you kind of convert some of them into believing and seeing things your way when they're trying to move things forward in a wild, wild west type of faceted scenario and say, hey, look, less regulation is great for us. That means we can speed ahead and try to get some of our plans out the door before there's a sailing over top of it.
So it's not about whether it's more regulation or less regulation. We're trying to find a proper balance.
Got it.
Right? We're trying to make sure that consumers, investors in New York are properly protected. At the same time, what we're trying to do is make sure that we have an environment for burgeoning investments in crypto, in this space, in blockchain, and how do we find the balance? Now, there are people. Now, what's interesting is that look, cryptocurrency was born out of decentralization,
right?
Getting government out of their business.
Sure.
Yet, in fact, cryptocurrencies have grown far beyond just that, right? So many exchanges are using it, many folks are using it, people are there are pizzerias in New York where you can buy pizza with Bitcoin. So because that's the case, how do we properly protect folk, and how do we properly keep the environment where that business is burgeoning?
And you mentioned balance. You don't want to stifle innovation. It's been 4 years since the DFS, the New York State Department of Financial Services, wrote its BIT license, which is the legal framework for cryptocurrency businesses in the state. 4 years, as you said in your Facebook post, is forever in crypto years.
No doubt about it.
So much has changed since then. Does the BIT license need to be reformed? And can you tell us about any plans that you guys have?
Look, first of all, I have to give credit to the governor for having the vision to be able to sign this into law and put this task force in place. New York was on the cutting edge 4 years ago on the heels of Mt. Gox when they came out with the BIT license. New York investors and consumers have to be protected. But at that time, in 2015, there was no Litecoin, there was no Ethereum, there were no utility tokens. Things have changed so much. So what does that mean today? Well, we're going to have, with this task force, we're going to have investors, we're going to have technologists, we're going to have academics to help us figure out what this means and what to do and where the ball is going, not where it is today.
Well, what are the most useful ways, kind of cryptocurrency aside, or at least looking at the underlying technology, which is blockchain for cryptocurrency, what are the most powerful ways that the government can be using blockchain, and how do you see that actually being enacted?
So there are a couple of bills that we have in place right now in New York where the nature of blockchain technology, where it's decentralized, it's transparent, it's a democratized way to store and transfer data, is something that's very attractive to government. So we can use it for elections. One thing I mentioned is in 3 years ago in Brooklyn, 127,000 voter records were expunged.
Wow.
If that information was on the blockchain, that would not happen. Right? That's exciting to see that. Also, we're going to be experimenting using blockchain technology to keep records for our SUNY system, for our State University of New York, our university system. So, there are a lot of different ways and a lot of use cases for blockchain in government. So we'll be exploring that soon.
It's vast for sure. So the first deliverable is due in 2 years, basically. I think you guys said that the report would be due December 2020.
Right.
But as we're talking about how much and how quickly the space changes, what are the chances that any findings that you collect and deliver by December 2020 will be irrelevant or outdated by then.
So we're hoping the reason why. So what happens is that we could have had deliverables much shorter, but we want to be able to make sure that we have an evergreen report, so that we can figure out where cryptocurrency, where blockchain is going in the next 5, 10 years. What happens is that if we move too fast, we may have a golden goose, right? If we stifle it too much, we can kill the goose, right? So we have to make sure that we have the proper regulations so that we can have the guidelines and the guardrails to figure out what the proper level of regulation should be.
We've seen Ohio decide to approve tax payments from businesses using crypto. Do you see New York adopting anything like that in the future?
We consider that. We're considering that. There is a bill in place where we're considering accepting payments for with cryptos. How soon is that going to happen? I don't know, but we've considered that.
What's the next step that it has to go through?
The next step is now we have to find different people to be on the task force. So that's the next step.
We appreciate the time here today, joining us once again on Cryptocurrency.
Thanks, Bill.
Excuse me. New York Assemblyman Clyde Vanel joining us here today on Crypto Craze.